believe that cultural understanding forms the bedrock of meaningful international cooperation and peace. When we fail to understand and respect the cultures, histories, and values of others, we risk creating divisions that lead to mistrust, discrimination, and violence. On such an urgently relevant topic, I believe so much in the abilities of young people to address the current turbulent situation in the world. My belief stems from fact. So many progressive movements for a better world are led by young people today. This is so encouraging. I believe that young people have the potential to drive progress, to create lasting change, and to build a more peaceful world. They have the ability in collaborating across borders, across cultures, and across ideologies. As young people grow in a world that is more interconnected than ever before, they are uniquely positioned to understand and navigate through the diverse global perspectives. I believe that the fresh ideas, the openness to collaboration, and the proficiency with digital platforms enable young people to create and support a global peace movement. The challenges we face today cannot be solved by any one country. Global issues like conflicts, wars, climate change, pandemics, poverty, and human rights violations transcend borders, and the solutions require international collective cooperation. It requires a global movement of motivated, honest brokers. Who else can steer such a movement if not aspiring young people that seek to move on from the old unsuccessful ways of our current multilateral system? I truly believe that young people can bridge cultural gaps, reduce misunderstandings, and build mutual respect among nations. This can happen by also investing in our children through peace education. It is therefore so essential that young people are empowered from a very young age in ethical values. Empowered young people can see the value of cultural diplomacy and can inspire a new generation to embrace diversity and work towards a more peaceful and cooperative world. Young people are uniquely positioned to lead in this area. They are more globally aware, technologically savvy, and capable of forming connections across national borders than any previous generation. The engagement of young people in international cooperation can build bridges instead of walls and foster dialogue instead of conflicts and wars. Whether through student organizations, online campaigns, or in global forum, young people can be our ambassadors for cooperation. They can raise awareness and advocate for global solidarity. I believe that cultural understanding forms the bedrock of meaningful international cooperation and peace. When we fail to understand and respect the cultures, histories, and values of others, we risk creating divisions that lead to mistrust, discrimination, and violence. Young people play a crucial role in bridging these gaps by promoting empathy, tolerance, and intercultural dialogue. Young people are more courageous to challenge the status quo, question prejudices, and push for inclusivity in ways that the older generation might not. I believe that the first step towards cultural understanding is learning. I am convinced that the students at the Academy for Cultural Diplomacy in the audience are best placed to appreciate the values and the traditions of others. Experiences like exchange programs, international travel, or virtual global exchanges challenge assumptions and broaden perspectives. Through dialogue, culture performances, and workshops, children and young people can learn to appreciate their differences while working together towards shared goals. Peace is much more than the absence of war. Sustainable peace can be achieved by effective social justice, equity, the upholding of human rights, and the holistic well-being of our communities. This is about creating societies where individuals can thrive without fear of violence, discrimination, or poverty. In this respect, young people can be the architects of peace. For the young people in the audience, I am convinced that you have the energy, the creativity, and the courage to challenge injustice, address structural inequalities, and foster communities that value human dignity. Peace is impossible without justice. I encourage all of you young people to advocate for policies that address systemic inequalities. I believe that you as young people can be effective mediators in promoting non-violent communication and conflict resolution in your communities. I encourage you to engage in peace-building initiatives. International cooperation, cultural understanding, and peace are not separate goals. They are deeply intertwined. Without cooperation between nations, it is nearly impossible to achieve lasting peace. Without cultural understanding, international cooperation is unsustainable and peace is fragile. In a world where polarization often thrives on the divisive rhetoric, young people can stand out by promoting constructive dialogue. What if we could create a global network of young people who champion international cooperation, cultural understanding, and peace? This movement can not only promote peace, but also drive systemic change at the international level. Young people have the potential to leverage soft power through cultural diplomacy, art, education, and sports diplomacy to promote international cooperation. In conclusion, I would like to address young people in the audience again. Many of you today identify as global citizens, viewing yourselves as part of a broader human community rather than being confined to national borders or political identities. This global perspective enables us to approach international cooperation with a sense of shared responsibility for our humanity's future. Young people who embrace this identity can break through the wisest political barriers by emphasizing our collective stakes in addressing global issues like poverty, health, and environmental sustainability. As young people, you have the power to influence the course of history. The world is at a crossroads, and your generation has a critical role to play in shaping a future that values international cooperation, fosters cultural understanding, and prioritizes peace. Remember, leadership is not about waiting for change. It is about creating it. By working together, challenging divisions, and building bridges, you can be the generation that leads us towards a more sustainable, united, peaceful, and just world. In preparing for my contribution today, I remember the very telling quote of Eleanor Roosevelt when she said, and I quote, "It isn't enough to talk about peace. One must believe in it. And it isn't enough to believe in it. One must work at it." In a world afflicted with wars and conflict, I encourage you to take up peace building as your life mission and work at it.